for the forms of our punctuations are with the claim of the use, : equals position lodio fax, hyphen equals compound fax equals known, period equals end thought, comma pause, and location tildes with the meanings and uses of the communications with the : of the position lodial fact phrase with the fact known term of the positional lodio fact phrase and with the void of the nom de guerre equals dead person. 14. David Wynn Miller, who lived from 1948-49 to 2018, was an American pseudo-legal theorist and a prominent leader within the sovereign citizen movement. He is best known as the creator of quantum grammar, a constructed version of the English language that he claimed was the only correct form of communication for legal processes, purportedly based on mathematics and including unorthodox punctuation and syntax. Miller and his followers, a group of tax protesters, used this language sometimes styled as in the truth in court filings, believing it would guarantee success, eliminate taxes, and prove that the U.S. federal courts lacked jurisdiction over them because they were sovereign unto themselves. He also asserted that adding hyphens and colons to a person's name, such as David Wynn, Miller, would transform the person into a prepositional phrase and a fact existing in the now-time dimension, thereby distinguishing them from the legal strawman identity. Miller assumed various titles, including Postmaster, King of Hawaii, and Plenipotentiary Judge of the Unity States of the World, and also espoused several conspiracy theories. David Wynn Miller's early life and professional background centered on his career as a tool and die welder. He was based in Ohio before moving to Milwaukee, Wisconsin. However, his entire pseudo-legal activism stemmed from a deeply frustrating personal experience with the court system in the 1980s, where he represented himself pro se in a divorce proceeding and, according to his own account, lost 67 child custody hearings. This sparked a conviction that the judiciary was rigged by linguistic manipulation, leading him to believe the English language itself had been modified to enslave the people. In 1988, he began developing quantum grammar, his own theory of language intended to override the legal system, asserting that it was the only correct and mathematically certified form of communication. Miller also claimed that when he was 25, he briefly died after an inept surgery, a bizarre event which he asserted resulted in his heart spontaneously restarting, his IQ rising to 200, and his body ceasing to age. David Wynn Miller's quantum grammar, often rendered in all caps with strategic colons and hyphens as correct sentence structure communication parse syntax grammar CSS CPSSG, posited that Standard English was a fraudulent adjective adverb fiction engineered by maritime admiralties and Babylonian priests to create perpetual joinder between living souls and corporate strawmen. Miller's core axiom held that only prepositional phrases certified by mathematical operators embedded in punctuation could convey verifiable forensic facts in the now-time dimension. Verbs, he argued, projected future performance and thus constituted fraudulent conveyance into fictional jurisdiction. Adjectives and adverbs were opinion modifiers that voided contractual integrity, articles the, a, and were pronoun adjectives that collapsed living authority into corporate abstraction. The system's punctuation schema was rigid: : equals position lodial fact phrase, hyphen equals compound known fact, tilde equals location or motion, period equals end thought, comma equals pause or conjunction. A correct sentence, per Miller, contains 0 verbs, 0 gerunds, 0 future tense, and was authenticated by a thumbprint in red ink signifying blood life claim. Miller's linguistic ontology drew from eclectic sources: Hawaiian Kingdom postal treaties, the Uniform Commercial Code, flag fringe jurisprudence, and a self-proclaimed 1988 death experience that allegedly recalibrated his pineal gland to perceive quantum wave functions in syntax. He claimed to have parsed over 5,000 languages into bidirectional prepositional truth vectors, asserting that all human conflict stemmed from parse syntax grammar errors in treaties dating to the Code of Hammurabi. His seminars featured live demonstrations where attendees rewrote birth certificates as life claim certificate with thumbprint in red ink, purportedly severing the vessel in commerce from the living soul. Miller's flagship template, The Claim of Life, was a 3 to 5 page affidavit beginning with the claimant's name in colon-hyphen format, e.g. David Wynn, Miller, followed by 49 certified prepositional phrases, and concluding with a thumbprint and the clause for the lodial fact of this claimus with the PC and honor. 1996, orchestrates a minimum of 25 intensive seminars across the Hawaiian archipelago, promulgates the transformative doctrine that correct parse syntax grammar can transmute a jurisdiction from noun fiction to verb living authority, famously asserting "I turned Hawaii into a verb," instructs attendees in filing thumbprint authenticated, no verb, prepositional phrase documents to void state adhesion contracts. No audiovisual record survives, but the events are canonized in later manuals and dwmlc.net as the genesis of postal court sovereignty. 1998, provides direct syntactic intervention in the federal tax prosecution of George Johnson, Wisconsin, authors' pleadings featuring colon-hyphenated name constructs, e.g. George, Johnson, gerund-free clauses, and prepositional certification. Court summarily rejects the filings as gibberish, yet Miller redacts and circulates the documents as paradigmatic templates for sovereign communication. These become the earliest empirically tested artifacts of quantum grammar in adversarial litigation. 2002, captures a 7-hour audio tableau of real-time linguistic engagement with a Las Vegas municipal judge, restricts utterance exclusively to prepositional phrases, certified mathematical syntax, and colon-separated modifiers, claims the exchange effectuates case dismissal via syntactic nullification of joinder. The recording is repeatedly invoked on dwmlc.net as irrefutable forensic evidence. Partial excerpts later migrate to YouTube, while the master tape remains sequestered as sacred relic. 2006, exerts indirect influence over a Hemet, California real property dispute. Defendants, tutored in Miller's paradigm, submit voluminous thumbprint sealed affidavits composed entirely in quantum grammar hyphenated compound modifiers, no verbs, no adjectives, no articles. Presiding judge characterizes the pleadings as incomprehensible word salad and levies sanctions. Miller promptly archives the sanctioned filings on proto-versions of his websites as exemplary models of correct language communication. 2008, self-publishes the inaugural Quantum Language Parse Syntax Grammar QLPSG manual exceeding 100 pages, articulates foundational axioms, wave-particle duality transposed onto grammatical structure, punctuation as quantum operators, prepositional phrases as truth certification vectors, proscribes adjectives and adverbs as opinion modifiers that void contractual integrity, incorporates schematic diagrams of sentence parse trees and mathematical certification matrices, uploads to Internet Archive, establishing open access dissemination protocol. Courtroom applications of Milrese were uniformly catastrophic. In United States v. Flug 2009, a federal tax case in Wisconsin, defendant Ronald Flug, coached by Miller, submitted a 127-page certified quantum parse syntax grammar affidavit featuring sentences like "for the defendant Ronald Flugis with the living authority in the now time with the no joinder to the fiction." The court struck the filing as incomprehensible and imposed $10,000 in sanctions. In People v. Jackson 2011, California, a traffic defendant filed a noticio no verb clause with the disqualification of judge containing 312 hyphens and 0 verbs. The judge responded with a one-line order, denied. Gibberish. Miller archived every rejection as proof of judicial collusion with Babylonian syntax, redacting sanctions as opinion modifiers and circulating the filings on dwmlc.net as forensic evidence of correct communication. Miller's influence peaked in the early 2010s via YouTube micro-lectures with titles like For the Flagus with the Gold Fringe Fiction and For the Vaticanus with Hejective Fraud and the Cross. These videos, often filmed in hotel conference rooms with a flip chart covered in colon-hyphen diagrams, attracted sovereign citizens, Moorish nationalists, and Australian OPCA litigants organized pseudo-legal commercial argument. In 2013, Miller conducted a closed-door seminar in Brisbane where attendees paid $1,500 Australian to learn thumbprint diplomacy. One participant, Craig Wright, later infamous for Satoshi Nakamoto claims, allegedly used Milresa in ASIC filings before abandoning it for Bitcoin white papers. 2010, releases revised QLPSG edition, augments prior framework with the ontological doctrine that nouns, when properly hyphenated and colon-flanked e.g. David Wynn, Miller, transmogrify into life-form prepositional phrases distinct from corporate fictions, introduces a rigorous 49-point sentence certification algorithm for mathematical validation, expands prohibition on gerunds and future tense verbs as creators of joinder with fiction. Digital archival mirrors proliferate across sovereign citizen repositories. 2012, publishes third QLPSG iteration, proclaims mathematical certification of over 5,000 global languages via bidirectional parse syntax grammar, formalizes the no-verb clause as a juridical nullification device, contending that any verb implies future performance and thus adhesion to fictional jurisdiction. Concurrently, the Alberta Court of Queen's Bench in Meads v. Meads per Associate Chief Justice J.D. Rook devotes multiple pages to forensic dissection of Miller's idiom, coining the pejorative Milresa and cataloging its syntactic deformities. Though not authored by Miller, the judgment enters the public record as the most authoritative external linguistic autopsy. The 2012 Canadian decision Meads v. Meads remains the most exhaustive judicial autopsy of Miller's system. Associate Chief Justice J.D. Rook devoted 17 pages to Milresa, diagramming its syntactic deformities and concluding, the punctuation is bizarre, the capitalization is random, and the meaning is non-existent. Rook coined the term gobbledygook for Miller's filings and warned that courts must be vigilant against this linguistic terrorism. Miller responded with a 42-page counterclaim with the disqualification of Tiruk fiction, mailed to the Alberta courthouse with a red thumbprint and a postage stamp affixed upside down as symbolic reversal of Admiralty jurisdiction. 2012 to 2015, executes a transoceanic seminar circuit encompassing Australia, New Zealand, and the United Kingdom, concurrently disseminates short-form video modules on YouTube under semantically charged titles, Breaking the Samurai Code Decoding Feudal Linguistic Enslavement, Keymaster on Jesus, the Cross, and Breaking the Vatican Code Exposing Ecclesiastical Adjective Fraud, and 200 million metric tons of gold linking parse syntax to suppressed bullion reserves. These micro-lectures function as gateway artifacts for neophyte grammarians. January 9, 2016, stages a marathon 9-hour pedagogical immersion in Huntersville, North Carolina, comprehensively recorded and segmented into a Rumble playlist, elucidates the four-corner rule for contractual quadrature, demonstrates live creation of a court of record via certified prepositional syntax, and performs real-time sentence parsing with mathematical certification. The recording stands as the most exhaustive audiovisual corpus of Miller's instructional methodology. 2017, issues the culminating QLPSG manual, synthesizes all antecedent doctrines and appends a claim of life template engineered for syntactic nullification of IRS liens and judicial disqualification, reiterates admonitions against third-party commercial reproduction, branding such editions as fraudulent fictions, hosts the canonical text on dwmlc.com with embedded thumbprint seal graphics and cryptographic disclaimers. 2018, David Wynn Miller undergoes physical cessation, no further original works emanate, custodial successors preserve dwmlc.com, dwmlc.net, and davidwynnmillerbook.com as living archives. The sites continue to promulgate manuals, seminar metadata, and warnings against counterfeit hard copies. David Wynn Miller, an American pseudo-legal theorist associated with the sovereign citizen movement, died in 2018 at the age of 68 to 70. David Wynn Miller claimed that every word in English has exactly 900 possible definitions, a cornerstone axiom of his quantum grammar system. He asserted this number derived from mathematical certification via his parse syntax grammar algorithm, where each preposition, modifier, and punctuation mark generated a unique truth vector in a 900-dimensional semantic space. For example, the word for was said to have 900 distinct lodial fact meanings depending on its position, hyphenation, and colon flanking, e.g. for the position, for the compound noun, etc. Miller taught that standard dictionaries concealed these 900 layers to maintain adjective-adverb fiction and enslave users to corporate jurisdiction. Posthumously, Miller's digital estate has been weaponized in unexpected contexts. In 2021, a Florida QAnon adherent used a Milresa claim of life to challenge COVID-19 vaccine mandates, arguing that for the Mrnays with the Garen fiction and the future performance of to death. The filing was dismissed in 11 minutes. In 2023, a New Zealand anti-5G activist submitted a 217-page notice of no joinder to the radiation fiction featuring Miller's 49-point certification algorithm. The High Court responded with a costs award of NZD 25,000. Meanwhile, DWMLC.com's server logs show persistent traffic from IP addresses in Russia, China, and Nigeria, suggesting Milresa has mutated into a global template for cryptocurrency scams and fake diplomatic passports. For the why of the sheriff's statement writings and United States Attorney's statements writing are with a second-grade reading level and writing level and vacating facts, opinions, guessing, modifications, via sick factual syntax grammar word meanings by the Vasilise against the collusion conspiracy with the handicapping sick parse syntax grammar communication pleadings and babbling collusions threats against the David Russell, Merland by the Vasilise. 46.